contract negotiation that was going on. ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effectively.
But don't ask me the details, because I'm not going to tell y'all the details. That's none of y'all business. Oh, and I don't know the details.
He made it sound like something wild happened.
Correct.
And there's no reason.
No one saw it coming. The man who built his entire image on being untouchable now finds himself standing at the center of one of the most humiliating scandals of his career. Stephen A. Smith, the face of ESPN, the loudest voice in sports, the man who turned debates into an art form, is now being accused of betrayal, manipulation, and emotional cruelty by the one person who trusted him the most, Molly Qerim. Yes, the same Molly who sat beside him for nearly a decade, the same woman who helped shape First Take into the empire it became. But this time, she isn't sitting quietly beside him on camera. She's standing against him in court.
They're reporting that it's supposed to be the end of the year. Molly, by action, says it's right now. Instead of I'm leaving now, I'm leaving right now. She made it immediate. And then Stephen A. Smith makes the statement. Now, interesting once again, see, peep all these differences, right? These contradictions in terms of how they usually move and how they're moving with Molly. Max Kellerman left. Stephen A. Smith didn't even show up for the last day. Remember that? Interesting. And we all know that typically they don't talk about talent when they're gone. They just say, thank you for your services and we wish you well. This is a little different for many reasons. So when they're trying to paint it, it looks a lot different.
Suing Stephen A. Smith for $1.3 million, claiming years of backroom betrayal, emotional distress, and career sabotage. And here's the part that nobody expected. Stephen A. Smith, the man who has always had something to say, is completely silent. No fiery statement, no rant, no defense. Just silence. Because this time, the evidence may speak louder than his voice ever could. To understand how things got this bad between Stephen A. and Molly, we have to go back to where everything began. Back to the early days of First Take, when the show wasn't just about sports, it was about chemistry, connection, and trust. When Molly first joined First Take, she wasn't the star.
Molly is a co-worker. Molly is somebody that I have leaned on many occasions in the past, as she has done when it comes to me. We've been partners on the show for the last 10 years. And a lot of times, some of these things happen and it's just uncomfortable to see. The details, quite frankly, are none of y'all business, but it's not as if I know all the details.
She was the moderator, the one keeping the peace between two fiery men, Stephen A. Smith and whoever sat across from him that week. But Molly brought something special. She had grace, she had patience, she had presence. She could steer the chaos, calm the egos, and make it look effortless. And slowly, she became more than just a face on the screen. She became part of the First Take family. Off camera, she and Stephen A. reportedly shared a bond built on years of working side by side.
The contract negotiation that was going on, ESPN certainly did not want to lose her. But in the end, she made a decision to walk away from the show effective immediately, as you see from her Instagram post, her Instagram story last night.
He'd call her the glue of the show. She'd defend him when people called him arrogant. They trusted each other, or at least that's what everyone believed. But behind those bright studio lights, whispers started to spread. Some producers said Stephen A. had started taking control of the show's direction, choosing guests, shaping topics, even influencing who got more screen time. And Molly? She was slowly being pushed to the side.
Report comes out. That report comes out the next morning. Instead of Molly showing up to work, she puts out an Instagram post. And in that Instagram post, you guys remember, one thing she didn't mention was anybody by name, including Stephen A. Smith. Now, I've left a show or two before, and trust me, you're gonna name some names, when you leave that. Just think about Shannon Sharp when he left Undisputed. Goodness, it took about 10 minutes of all the names he dropped. That's my point. Molly didn't do that. So that lets you know already there's some friction behind the scenes.
At first, she didn't notice. She thought it was just part of the business, that she'd get her turn again. But then, her pay raise never came. Her on-screen moments started getting shorter. And people inside ESPN began saying that Stephen A. was the reason her contract renewal stalled. Still, Molly stayed professional.
Watching, and I've been watching over the last several years, people in this business fall by the wayside because we forget that all of us ultimately answer to people. We don't get to define our own value. We don't get to define our own worth. We don't get to sit there and summarily say, this is who I am and this is what I'm going to do. And guess what? I don't give a damn what anybody say unless you have the leverage to do it. Because business is all about leverage.
She smiled on camera. She kept showing up. Until the day everything changed. It started quietly, an email from ESPN's HR department. A meeting request for 10 a.m. Monday morning. No details, no subject line, just her name. When Molly walked into that meeting, she expected a discussion about her next contract. Instead, she was handed a paper, a formal notice that her role on First Take would be restructured by the end of the year. In plain English, that meant you're out. She was stunned. 10 years of loyalty and not even a phone call from the higher-ups? But what broke her heart wasn't the letter. It was finding out that Stephen A. Smith had known about it weeks before. According to insiders, he had been in those very meetings discussing the future of First Take. He didn't fight for her. He didn't warn her. He stayed quiet and allegedly negotiated a bonus for himself in the process. For Molly, it felt like the ultimate betrayal. The man she defended, the friend she trusted, had traded loyalty for leverage. She left the building that day with tears in her eyes and a silent promise to herself, this isn't over. At first, the world didn't know the truth. Fans just saw Molly disappear from First Take without warning. Stephen A. sat alone on the next episode, pretending everything was normal. He gave a quick statement, I don't know the details of Molly's situation, and moved on. But that line, that one line, set off alarms. Because how could the man who sat next to her every morning for a decade not know the details? Viewers weren't buying it. Neither was Molly. That's when the leaks started. Anonymous posts began surfacing online, claiming that Stephen A. had used his influence to push Molly out, calling her replaceable. Then, an insider revealed that her pay had been frozen during contract talks, while Stephen's had skyrocketed to over $20 million a year. The internet exploded. People demanded answers. But Stephen A. stayed quiet, and ESPN refused to comment. Then came the lawsuit. Filed in a New York court just weeks ago, the $1.3 million lawsuit sent shockwaves through the sports world. Molly Qerim accused Stephen A. Smith of professional defamation, workplace manipulation, and intentional emotional distress. In plain terms, she claimed he had destroyed her career, all while pretending to be her friend. The lawsuit revealed disturbing details, private texts, leaked meeting notes, and internal emails suggesting that Stephen A. had actively pushed for her removal to refresh the show's energy. Even worse, it hinted at a toxic environment, one where power, ego, and favoritism ruled over fairness. And the most explosive part? Molly claimed she was offered hush money to walk away quietly, a settlement worth just under $200,000, in exchange for signing a non-disclosure agreement. She refused. Instead, she decided to fight. Not just for herself, but for every woman in media who's been told to stay quiet and smile. The day the lawsuit hit the headlines, Stephen A. Smith's empire began to shake. Podcasts, news outlets, and YouTubers went wild. #CancelStephenA started trending on X. People began pulling up old clips, accusing him of arrogance and hypocrisy. But here's the twist. Even some of his friends started turning on him. Shannon Sharpe, who once shared laughs with Stephen on air, made a subtle but cutting remark during a live stream. Some folks only loyal when the camera's on. When the lights go out, you see who's really for you. Fans instantly connected the dots. Then, ESPN insiders started leaking even more, claiming that upper management had begun distancing themselves from Stephen, fearing brand damage. Executives reportedly held emergency meetings about the fallout. And when reporters asked Stephen for comment outside his hotel in Manhattan, he walked past them, head down, refusing to speak. The man who never shuts up had no words. For days, his silence grew louder. His absence on First Take was impossible to ignore. Fill-in hosts appeared. Reruns replaced live segments. Behind the scenes, sources say his legal team went into overdrive, trying to negotiate a private settlement with Molly before the case reached trial. But according to court documents, she rejected every offer. Because for her, this was no longer about money. It was about justice. And here's where things got emotional. In a recent interview, Molly finally spoke out. Her voice was calm, but her words cut deep. She said, "When someone you trusted turns your silence into their power, you start to lose yourself. I'm not doing this to destroy anyone. I'm doing this to take back my voice." That one line changed everything. Fans who had once doubted her began to rally behind her. Comments flooded her social media. "We believe you." "Stand strong, Molly." "He used you. Now expose him." For the first time, the world saw her not just as a moderator, but as a woman who'd been silenced for too long. Meanwhile, Stephen A's reputation took hit after hit. Old co-workers began hinting at similar experiences, saying he'd undercut people behind the scenes to maintain his dominance. Even his fans started questioning whether his on-screen confidence had crossed into ego. Sponsors began quietly pulling back. His name wasn't mentioned in ESPN's newest marketing campaigns. And according to one insider, his upcoming contract renewal, worth tens of millions, was suddenly paused. The empire he'd built on his voice was now crumbling in silence. But perhaps the saddest part of all this is that it didn't have to end this way. Two people who once worked side by side, who laughed, debated, and built something powerful together, now stand on opposite sides of a courtroom. Molly, fighting for dignity. Stephen, fighting for survival. People close to them say this whole ordeal broke something inside both of them. The trust, the friendship, the respect, gone. And no matter who wins legally, they've already lost something deeper. Because betrayal doesn't just ruin careers, it changes hearts. You can replace a job. You can rebuild a reputation. But you can't undo the pain of realizing the person who stood beside you was secretly standing on your back. That's what makes this story so haunting. It's not just about money. It's about betrayal dressed as loyalty. As the case moves forward, both sides are lawyering up, and the details keep getting darker. Reports suggest that Molly's legal team has more receipts, including confidential emails showing Stephen A mocking her demands for equal pay. If that's true, his downfall might be just beginning. Meanwhile, Stephen's supporters claim this is all a witch hunt, a setup by people jealous of his success. They say he'll clear his name soon. But silence can only last so long. Because every day he stays quiet, the world fills in the blanks for him. And maybe that's the real tragedy here, that the same voice that once commanded every room is now too afraid to speak. At the end of it all, this scandal isn't just about two TV personalities. It's a mirror for the entire industry. An industry where power often hides behind charm, where smiles on screen can mask betrayal off camera, and where success sometimes comes at the cost of someone else's silence. Molly Qerim's lawsuit has forced everyone, fans, hosts, executives, to ask a painful question. How many others were betrayed in the same way, but never spoke out? And as for Stephen A. Smith, his future now hangs in the balance. If the court rules against him, it won't just cost him $1.3 million, it could cost him the legacy he spent decades building. Because sometimes the loudest man in the room ends up being destroyed by his own silence. So, what happens next? Will Stephen A. finally break his silence and tell his side of the story? Or will Molly's case expose a truth so damaging that it ends his career for good? One thing's for sure, the sports world will never be the same again. And for the first time in his life, Stephen A. Smith isn't in control of the conversation. He's not debating. He's not performing. He's fighting for his name. But as the walls close in and the evidence piles up, many are asking one haunting question. Was the price of power really worth it?